It's 100 days to go to the Tokyo Olympics, and as I said earlier, we are desperately hoping that this time we will get to day zero and crossing fingers that the Olympic Games will indeed happen in Tokyo this year. Well, I'm joined now via Zoom from Dubai by one woman who has made sure of her place in Tokyo this year, and that's Gerda Steyn. Gerda, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to the Olympics, Gerda, you did something amazing this past weekend in Siena, Italy. You broke a 25-year record that was held by Colin Diriek, and you ran 2:25:28. I looked at your Twitter bio and it's already up there. This is amazing.
Good morning, first of all, to everyone. Thank you for having me on the show. What a pleasure to bring some great athletic news to the whole of the country this weekend. It has been an incredible weekend in Italy, in Siena, Italy. It was an amazing experience, and really pleased to walk away with a new personal best time for myself, as well as a new national record. Like you mentioned, this record has been standing now for 25 years, and I feel like the time has come for the record to fall. And yes, just really grateful for the entire experience, and happy to share the great news with all of you.
And it nearly didn't happen also, Gerda. This was a last-minute arrangement by World Athletics to get the race going.
Of course, yes. We all know the current situation with regards to traveling, and competitions all around the world has been very few and far. So yes, we were very fortunate to have this opportunity. The organizers of this race, this specific race in Siena, did go through a lot of effort to put this together. And in the end of the day, it was an amazing event. There were a total of about 150 athletes, which most of them, the field consisted out of about 40 women, and the rest all men. It was a very high class field. There's so many runners around the world that's really desperate and hungry to race. So the race itself turned out brilliantly, and even though it was a very small event in terms of no mass participation or no spectators, we were just happy to have a stage for us to give our best and to put performances down leading up to Tokyo Olympics.
And of course, you had already qualified for the Olympics going into that race. It was just a matter of making sure you break the record. And let's touch on something that you just spoke about now, the absence of spectators. And you're going into the Olympic Games now, ruled out in Rio through injury, and you have your chance now again. How does it feel? Is it as exciting, given what's happened throughout the last year or so? No spectators, and we heard from the IOC that international spectators will not be allowed at the Games, and there's still actually questions over whether they will happen, the Games itself.
Of course, yes. It is hard to avoid or mislook the fact that there are still a lot of people out there that is questioning whether the Olympic Games will go ahead. But personally, as an athlete, I can't let that derail my plans or my preparation towards the race. I'm preparing for the Tokyo Olympics as if I have no uncertainty at all whether it's going ahead. I will prepare for it like it would be any other year. And in terms of the spectators, it is of course really sad that we know we won't have a lot of international spectators coming down, and especially South Africans flying out, which we've seen in the past, especially for the Games, and to cheer the athletes on. But we are hopeful that the fact that Japan is a country that absolutely loves running and athletics, and especially the marathon. So I'm 100% convinced that there will be ample of spectators and support from the local population in Japan. So of course we will miss our home support, but I don't think that it will hinder our plans or the race itself. We are all very much used to how events are being staged at the moment. And to be honest, as an athlete, to have still races to compete in the current pandemic is just an honor, and I feel really privileged. So I'm not taking away anything from the games. I think that it is really, really difficult to stage the games at the moment, but the fact that it will look different to what we have seen in the past is a certainty. But once, like I said again, I will still prepare for the race as if it would be any other year or any other Olympic Games.
The locals in Tokyo, Gerda, actually Japan as a whole, a lot of them have been saying the games should be scrapped altogether. I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask you if you personally think it's a good idea for the Olympic Games to go ahead, given the situation, given the surge in numbers of COVID-19, and Japan has not been spared itself.
Of course, yes, there will always be criticism when something like this takes place. You still have to have a large amount of people grouped together, and that is not actually what the requirements from all the health organizations, etc. Social distancing is such a big tip for preventing the spread of the disease. But I must admit that the race organizers, and especially the Olympic Committee, are going through so many hoops and making so sure that these games will be staged in a safe way. The athletes will be fully tested. We will do multiple tests before and after. I'm sure that there will even be an encouragement campaign to get vaccinated and to stage the games in the most safe way possible. And from another perspective, I do think that also a lot of people out there is so deprived from something that is positive in the news and something that gives them hope. And I think the games here will be such a stage for people to just believe in positivity again, and that we will get back to normality, even though it's taking a lot longer than any of us expected. So I think in terms of safety, the Olympic Committee will do whatever they can, but I think the psychological side of it and the uplift that it will bring to the entire world will outweigh any possibility of it putting anyone in danger.
If worst case scenario, Gerda, it doesn't happen this time again, do you think, I mean, there's questions surely in your mind and other athletes, whether they will have another chance. Do you think you can have another crack at it, perhaps Paris 2024?
100% yes. Paris 2024 is already in my mind, and even if the Tokyo Olympics take place, whether or not it takes place, Paris Olympics is also something that I would really, really be honored to be taking part in. So 100% yes. If this doesn't go ahead, then we have to just reassess, move forward, and take the next challenge. It's been more than 12 months now of races being cancelled or postponed. And the thing is, you just have to move on. You can't think and be too negative for too long about something that doesn't go according to your plan. It's not in our hands, but in worst case scenario, it doesn't happen. I will just reassess and aim for my next target. But Paris Olympics, 100% committed to that as well.
Gerda, you spoke about your preparation and that you won't be derailed by things you can't control, of course. But are there enough events for your preparation? I mean, your code is a little bit different to others where perhaps there's football, there's leagues around the world, there's tournaments that are scheduled to happen. With marathon running, it's different. There's events, particular events that need to be organized, and a lot of them are being cancelled. Does that give enough preparation or leave you with enough events to prepare for the Olympics?
There's a yes and a no answer to this. There's been very few opportunities. Only now we've seen more opportunities come to light. They might be across the world, in Europe, etc. And then traveling restrictions makes it often difficult to get to them. So 100% yes, there's been days, even in this year, where I thought, I don't know what is going to happen or whether I will even get a chance to race. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life and so eager to race and so eager to put a good performance down. And I've never thought in my wildest dreams that we would end up in a situation where there isn't actually races to choose from or very few races. But the positive side of this is we have seen incredible performances in the past 12 months, even though they are so hard to find. And I think it is a great deal because of the fact that we as athletes aren't over racing. We are training, we are preparing for races, but we are saving it for one chance and then just making sure you make the best out of the one single opportunity that you might get. So there's a positive and a negative side to this. I'm not overlooking the fact that I've had a long build up to this marathon this past weekend and an uninterrupted build up. So I'm taking the positive.
Events that would have surely prepared you for the Olympics is the Comrades Marathon. And sadly, we heard that for the second year in a row, it will not be taking place. I don't know if you're aware, Gerda, that you are the longest standing champion of the Comrades Marathon, having won it in 2019. You're the longest standing women's champion in the Comrades Marathon. It's a record that perhaps you did not go for, but it's a record nonetheless.
That is certainly true. I'm very pleased that I can remain the reigning champion for 3 years now in a row, perhaps until next year, because the race didn't take place. If the race were to go ahead on the traditional date during June, it would have been a very tough decision for me to make, but I would have had to sit out anyway because of the preparation that I will be doing towards the Tokyo Olympic Games. So it would have been a very tough decision for me to not take part in the race. But again, coming back to the point that I made earlier, now with not having the opportunity, it just gives me more time to prepare. So again, trying to look at it in a different light. And of course, the Comrades Marathon also, for me, the race is not just about the winner. It's not just about who crosses the line first. The race is about the thousands of people taking the journey from Durban to Pietermaritzburg or the other way around. And I don't feel like the Comrades Marathon would be the same if they staged it in a smaller sized field. We'll be missing out on all the thousands of people that take up this journey and make the race what it is. So I think that everybody who loves the race will be patient enough to wait for the world to get back to normality before we line up for that very, very special race again. So hopefully next year, by this time next year, everything that we are used to in running and racing will be back to normal and we can prepare ourselves for the full experience.
Gerda, as I let you go, we are obviously rooting for you, along with many South Africans going to Tokyo this year. What are we looking at in terms of your finish? What are you targeting? Sub 2:25 maybe?
Of course, this past weekend's race gave me a lot of confidence and courage going into the Olympics. It was a great race for me. It was great for my preparation and in terms of where I am in fitness. As we know that often in Olympic Games or World Championship races, it is not often about fast times. It's more a strategic race. So I am expecting the race to not go as fast as what we would often see in city marathons, but it will be more a strategic race and who can withstand the challenging weather conditions that we will have in Sapporo, etc. So, of course, I will be doing my best to contain. Closer to the time, I will reassess and see exactly where I am in terms of my training and to see what I will make my final challenge for the Olympic Games. But certainly it's given me a lot of courage and I'm sure that I can be up there and challenging the world's best athletes and racing them when it comes down to the Olympic Games.
Gerda Steyn, thank you so much for your time joining us from Dubai. We will be rooting for you at the Olympic Games. And trust me, all of us, including my colleague Michelle Craig, will be looking at your race with keen interest in July this year. That's Gerda Steyn. She broke a record in Siena, Italy this past weekend, going 2:25:28, a record that stood for 25 years. That's where we leave it.